Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to discuss about glycolysis and TCA cycle. The first one is glycolysis. Before entering into the glycolysis pathway, we should know about hair metabolism. So, what is meant by metabolism? So, the entire set of enzyme catalyzed transformations of organic molecules in living cells is called metabolism. So, the metabolism is nothing but enzyme catalyzed transformations of organic molecules in living cells is called metabolism. Metabolism is two types. So that is catabolism and anabolism. So the catabolism is nothing but it will transform fuel into cellular energy. So that's nothing but degradation of the molecule. And anabolism is nothing but synthesis of the molecule. The synthesis of the molecule is nothing but the formation of complex molecule from the small molecules with the utilization of energy. So this is the metabolic pathways uh, which requires inputs of energy to proceed. The useful energy plus small molecules forms complex molecules that is called the anabolism. The pathways that can be these metabolic pathways either anabolic in nature or catabolic in nature. So depending on the energy condition in the cell, these are referred as a amphibolic in nature. So that's nothing but wherever both anabolic character and catabolic character is there, so that used to called as a amphibolic pathway. Then the first one is, now we are entering into the glycolysis. So the glycolysis occurs in almost every living cells. It was the first metabolic sequence to be studied. This pathway is also called as Embden-Meyerhof pathway because the Embden-Meyerhof has introduced this glycolysis. So shortly this used to called as a EM pathway. This is occurs in cytosol. Coming to the definition of the glycolysis is defined as the sequence of reactions converting glucose to pyruvate or lactate with the production of ATP. So the glycolysis is nothing but the sequence of reactions converting glucose to pyruvate. That's nothing but the glucose undergoes sequence of reactions and it is converting as a pyruvate or lactate. So with the production of ATP. So coming to the cell and features of this glycolysis, it takes place in all cells of the body. The enzymes of this pathway are present in the cytosomal fraction of the cell. So the first feature is it takes place in all cells of the body. So the enzymes of this glycolysis pathway is present in cytosomal fraction of the cells. Then glycolysis occurs in absence of oxygen. This is called as a anaerobic glycolysis. If it is occur in the presence of oxygen, it is called as a aerobic glycolysis. Then the lactate is the end product under anaerobic condition, and in aerobic condition, the end product is the pyruvate, which is oxidized to CO2 and water in citric acid cycle. So the glycolysis is two types. In the presence of oxygen, it will occur. In the absence of oxygen, it will occur. In the presence of oxygen, if the glycolysis is occurring, it is called as the aerobic glycolysis. In this aerobic glycolysis, the end product is the pyruvate. So this pyruvate again enter into the citric acid cycle. There it will oxidize to CO2 and water. In this anaerobic glycolysis, this anaerobic glycolysis occurs in the absence of oxygen. So here the end product is lactate. Then the glycolysis is a major pathway for ATP synthesis in tissues which is lacking mitochondria. Those are like erythrocytes, cornea, lens. The glycolysis is very essential for brain which is dependent on glucose for the energy. The glycolysis here, the glycolysis, whatever the energy is occurring in the glycolysis, mostly on that energy only the brain is depending. The glucose in brain has to undergo glycolysis before it is oxidized to CO2 and water. The glycolysis is a central metabolic pathway with many of its intermediates providing branch point to other pathways. So that's why this glycolytic pathway is called as a central metabolic pathway. The intermediates of glycolysis are useful for the synthesis of amino acids and fats. Then glucose, how the glucose is entering into the cells. So here the glucose transporter is there, so that is called as the glucose transporter 4, that is GLUT4. It will transport glucose from extracellular fluid to muscle cells and adipocytes. This will be occurs under the influence of insulin. In diabetes mellitus, the insulin deficiency hinders the entry of glucose into the peripheral cells. Under diabetes mellitus, this insulin, due to deficiency of this insulin, the entry of glucose will be hindered into the peripheral cells. Glucose transporter T2 is the transporter in liver cells. It is not under the control of insulin. Coming to the reactions of glycolysis, this is divided into three distinct phases. So the glycolysis here is dividing into three phases. The first phase is energy investment phase, or priming phase, and second phase is the splitting phase, and third phase is the energy generation phase. In the first phase, energy investment phase, here ATP is utilizing, and in splitting phase, whatever the intermediate compounds are producing, that undergoes splitting. And coming to the energy generation phase, in an energy generation phase, ATP is generating, so that's why they are calling it is the energy generation phase. The first one is energy investment phase. Here, the glucose obtained from the diet through intestinal hydrolysis of lactose, sucrose, glycogen or starch is brought into the hexose phosphate pool through the action of hexokinase. Here, the free glucose is phosphorylated to glucose 6-phosphate by hexokinase enzyme. So here, the free glucose is phosphorylated into glucose 6-phosphate in the presence of hexokinase enzyme. This hexokinase split the ATP into ADP and phosphate. The phosphate is added to the glucose, then it will be forming as a glucose 6-phosphate. So glucose in the presence of hexokinase enzyme, it is converting as a glucose 6-phosphate. Glucose 6-phosphate, how means here ATP undergoes hydrolysis and it will release ADP and phosphate. The released phosphate will add to that glucose and it is converting as a glucose 6-phosphate. Here the hexokinase is a key glycolytic enzyme. So this is the reaction here. The glucose in the presence of hexokinase or glucokinase, it is converting as a glucose 6-phosphate. So here ATP undergoes hydrolysis and it is converting as a ADP and phosphate. The released phosphate is added to that glucose, then it is converting as a glucose 6-phosphate. Then the phosphorylated sugar molecules do not readily penetrate cell membranes without specific carrier. This commits glucose to further metabolism in the cell. In all tissues, the phosphorylation of the glucose is catalyzed by hexokinase. One of the three regulatory enzymes of this glycolysis is regulating. The isomerization of glucose 6-phosphate. The glucose 6-phosphate is a central molecule with a variety of metabolic fates like glycolysis, glyconeogenesis, and gluconeogenesis and HMP pathway. The isomerization of the glucose 6-phosphate to fructose 6-phosphate is catalyzed by phosphofructokinase enzyme. So that is isomerization. Glucose undergoes phosphorylation, it is converting as a glucose 6-phosphate. Here the glucose 6-phosphate in the presence of phosphohexoisomerase enzyme, it is converting as a fructose 6-phosphate. So for the conversion of this, it requires metal ion, that is magnesium. Then the reaction is ready. This reaction is reversible reaction. It is not a rate limiting or regulating step. So here glucose 6-phosphate in the presence of phosphohexoisomerase enzyme, with the help of this magnesium ion, it is converting as a fructose 6-phosphate. This reaction is the reversible reaction. It is not a rate limiting reaction. Then another one is the phosphorylation of the fructose 6-phosphate. The fructose 6-phosphate is phosphorylated to fructose 1,6 bisphosphate by phosphofructokinase enzyme. The phosphofructokinase reaction is the rate limiting step in glycolysis. It is controlled by the concentrations of the substrate ATP and fructose 6-phosphate. The fructose 6-phosphate in the presence of phosphofructokinase enzyme, with the help of this ATP hydrolysis, it is converting as a fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. Again here ATP undergoes hydrolysis, it is releasing ADP and phosphate. That phosphate is adding to this fructose 6-phosphate, then it is getting a fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. So this reaction is catalyzed by phosphofructokinase enzyme. Then another one, splitting phase. So until here, fructose 1,6 bisphosphate is formed in energy generation, energy investment phase with the utilization of ATP. And the now is splitting phase. Here the 6 carbon containing fructose 1,6 bisphosphate is splitting to 2,3 carbon containing compounds, that is like glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate by the enzyme aldolase. And the reaction, this reaction is reversible, it is not subject for regulation. And here, so this is the reaction, the fructose 1,6 bisphosphate in the presence of aldolase enzyme, it is converting as a glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Here the 6 carbon containing this fructose 1,6 bisphosphate is splitting in the presence of this aldolase enzyme, and it is converting as a 2,3 carbon containing containing compounds like glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate. So this is called the splitting phase, isomerization of dihydroxyacetone phosphate. So whatever the formed dihydroxyacetone phosphate in splitting phase undergoes isomerization. How it is? The phosphotrio-isomerase catalyzes the reversible interconversion of dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. The two molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate are obtained from one molecule of glucose. So here, how this is undergoes isomerization means dihydroxyacetone phosphate in the presence of phosphohexose isomerase, it is converting as a glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Then another one, oxidation of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So now in splitting phase, the fructose 1,6 bisphosphate is converted as a 2,3 carbon containing compounds like dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So this dihydroxyacetone phosphate undergoes isomerization. This glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate undergoes oxidation. So how this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate undergoes oxidation, we are going to see now. The glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase convert glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate to 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate. This step is important as it is involved in the formation of NADH and H+ and a high energy compound, that is 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate. In aerobic condition, this NADH passes through the electron transport chain and 6 ATPs are synthesized by oxidative phosphorylation. Here, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate in the presence of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme, it is converting as a 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate. Here, NAD coenzyme is reducing as a NADH. This NADH passes through the electron transport chain and it leads to the generation of ATP. The formation of ATP from 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate and ADP. The enzyme phosphoglycerate kinase act on 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate, resulting in the synthesis of ATP and formation of 3-phosphoglycerate. So the 3-phosphoglycerate in the presence of phosphoglycerate kinase enzyme, it is converting as a 3-phosphoglycerate. Here ADP, here ATP is generating from ADP and phosphate. This step is a substrate level phosphorylation. The production of a high energy phosphate is coupled with the conversion of substrate to product instead of resulting from oxidative phosphorylation. Here it's nothing but, so whatever it is releasing here from phosphate from this 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate, that is adding to this ADP and directly it leads to the generation of ATP without oxidative phosphorylation. So it is adding to this ADP. This is called as a substrate level phosphorylation. From the substrate itself, the ATP is generating. So they used to tell substrate level phosphorylation. This step is a substrate level phosphorylation. The production of a high energy phosphate is coupled with the conversion of substrate to products instead of resulting from oxidative phosphorylation. This is called substrate level phosphorylation. And the energy will be used to make ATP in the next reactions of glycolysis. The formation of ATP by phosphate group transfers from a substrate such as 1,3 bis phosphoglycerate is referred to as a substrate level phosphorylation. Unlike most other kinases, this reaction is reversible. 3-phosphoglycerate is converted to 2-phosphoglycerate by phosphoglycerate mutase enzyme. So this is the isomerization reaction. So this is the reaction. The 3-phosphoglycerate in the presence of phosphoglycerate mutase, it is converting as a 2-phosphoglycerate. The high energy compound, that is phosphoenol pyruvate, is generated from 2-phosphoglycerate by the enzyme enolase. This enzyme is required magnesium ions or manganese ions, and it is inhibited by fluoride. Here, this is the reaction. 2-phosphoglycerate in the presence of enolase or magnesium ion, it is converting as a phosphoenol pyruvate. The enzyme pyruvate kinase catalyzes the transfer of high energy phosphate from phosphoenol pyruvate to ADP and leading to the formation of ATP. This step is also a substrate level phosphorylation. Here, this is the reaction. The phosphoenol pyruvate in the presence of pyruvate kinase enzyme, it is converting as a pyruvate. So here, ADP, this inorganic phosphate is adding to this ADP, then ATP is generating. In this step also ATP is generating. So this is the sequencing of reactions of this glycolysis. Here glucose in the presence of hexokinase enzyme, it is converting as a glucose 6-phosphate. This for the conversion, ATP undergoes hydrolysis and it is providing energy to this, and whatever the inorganic phosphate is releasing, that is adding to this glucose, then it is converting as a glucose 6-phosphate. This glucose 6-phosphate in the presence of phosphohexose isomerase enzyme, it is converting as a fructose 6-phosphate. This fructose 6-phosphate in the presence of phosphofructokinase enzyme, it is converting as a fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. In this reaction, for the conversion of this fructose 1,6 bisphosphate, again here ATP undergoes hydrolysis and it is releasing inorganic phosphate and it is adding to fructose 6-phosphate. Then only fructose 1,6 bisphosphate is converting. Then this fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. So now we are entering, see up to here, this is the energy investment phase because here ATP is utilizing and the compounds are forming. Now we are entering into the splitting phase. Here the 6 carbon containing this fructose 1,6 bisphosphate in the presence of aldolase enzyme, it is converting as a 2,3 carbon containing compounds. Those are like dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Now, this dihydroxyacetone phosphate in the presence of phosphohexose isomerase enzyme, it is converting as a glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. This glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate in the presence of, now we are entering into the energy generation phase. That is glyceraldehyde undergoes glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate undergoes oxidation, then it leads to the starting the generation of the ATP phase. So here glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate in the presence of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme, it is converting as a 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate. Here NAD undergoes oxidation, it is reduced as a NADH. This NADH passes through the electron transport chain, it leads to the generation of ATP. So here this is one NADH passes through the electron transport chain, 3 ATPs will be generated. So now 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate obtained. This 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate in the presence of phosphoglycerate kinase enzyme, it is converting as a 3-phosphoglycerate. This 3-phosphoglycerate in the presence of mutase enzyme, it is converting as a 2-phosphoglycerate. This 2-phosphoglycerate in the presence of enolase enzyme, it is converting as a phosphoenol pyruvate with the help of manganese ion or magnesium ion. And here, this is the high energy compound. This phosphoenol pyruvate in the presence of pyruvate kinase enzyme, it is converted as a pyruvate. So this is the pyruvate. So this is the end product in aerobic glycolysis. This pyruvate, in the presence of oxygen, with the help of this lactate dehydrogenase enzyme, it is converting as a lactate. So this is the anaerobic glycolysis. So here the conversion of pyruvate to lactate, that is what we have studied. The pyruvate is reduced to lactate by lactate dehydrogenase enzyme. So that is what is lactate dehydrogenase enzyme means. So this lactate dehydrogenase has 5 isoenzymes. It will be like whenever the cardiac isoenzyme we used to tell, this is the lactate dehydrogenase enzyme will be increased in myocardial infarction. This is the pyruvate in the presence of lactate dehydrogenase enzyme. It is converting as a lactate. So then coming to the energetics of glycolysis, the energy yield in glucose in glycolysis under aerobic condition and anaerobic condition. So in aerobic condition, the reaction number 1 hexokinase 1 ATP is producing, and reaction number 3 phosphofructokinase 1 ATP is producing, and reaction 6, that is glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate, that is forming 2.5 into 5 ATPs are forming, and here bis phosphoglycerate kinase 2 ATPs is forming, and in reaction 10 2 ATPs are forming. Total 9 ATPs are producing in aerobic condition of glycolysis, and 2 ATPs are utilizing in first phase, that is priming phase or energy investment phase. So total the yield of aerobic condition, aerobic glycolysis 7 ATPs. So then here the energy, the 2 ATPs only is forming in anaerobic condition. So that is the 4 ATPs will be formed. So the 2 ATPs will be utilized for the conversion of that pyruvate to lactate. Then the 2 ATPs will be generating in this anaerobic condition. So this is about the glycolysis and all the reactions, the sequencing reactions of the glycolysis and energetics of glycolysis. Now we are entering into the TCA cycle. So whatever the anaerobic condition, whatever the aerobic condition, aerobic glycolysis end product is there. So that end product is pyruvate, that will be entering into the citric acid cycle. How means the pyruvate, in the presence of pyruvate dehydrogenase enzyme, it is converting as a acetyl CoA. That acetyl CoA is the starting molecule for the TCA cycle. So now we are entering into the TCA cycle. What is mean by TCA cycle and how? So what are the reactions and how the TCA cycle is occurring? So this TCA cycle, also known as Krebs cycle, it is involves in the oxidation of acetyl CoA to CO2 and water. Here the connecting reaction between this glycolysis and TCA cycle is there. Pyruvate undergoes pyruvate dehydrogenase enzyme. It is converting as a acetyl CoA. So this acetyl CoA is the starting molecule for this TCA cycle. Here this acetyl CoA undergoes oxidation and finally leads to the carbon dioxide and water in TCA cycle. TCA cycle is the central metabolic pathway. The TCA cycle is the final common oxidative pathway for carbohydrates, fats and amino acids. TCA cycle supplies energy and also provides many intermediates required for the synthesis of amino acids, glucose and heme. TCA cycle is the most important central pathway connecting almost all the individual metabolic pathways. Definition. Coming to the definition of this TCA cycle, citric acid cycle or TCA cycle or tricarboxylic acid cycle essentially involves the oxidation of acetyl CoA to carbon dioxide and water. The location of this TCA cycle mainly occurs in mitochondrial matrix because this is close proximity to the electron transport chain. Coming to the reactions of tricarboxylic acid cycle, the oxidative decarboxylation of pyruvate to acetyl CoA by pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. This step is connecting link between glycolysis and TCA cycle as we have discussed. The reactions of TCA cycle, the first one is formation of citrate And the second one is citrate is isomerized to isocitrate, and the fourth one is fourth and fifth is formation of alpha ketoglutarate, and sixth one is conversion of alpha ketoglutarate to succinyl CoA, and seventh one is formation of succinate, and eighth one is conversion of succinate to fumarate, and finally conversion of malate to oxaloacetate. So now the first reaction is, this is the formation of citrate. Here, the oxaloacetate condenses with acetyl CoA to form citrate, which is catalyzed by the enzyme citrate synthase enzyme. Here, this will be inhibited by ATP, NADH, citrate, and these are the competitive inhibitors of oxaloacetate. Step 2 and 3. Here, the citrate is isomerized to isocitrate. Citrate is isomerized to isocitrate by the enzyme aconitase enzyme. This is achieved in a two-stage reactions of the dehydration followed by hydration through the formation of an intermediate, that is cis aconitase. The step 4 and 5, the formation of alpha ketoglutarate. So here, isocitrate dehydrogenate catalyzes the conversion of isocitrate to oxalosuccinate and then to alpha ketoglutarate. Here, the formation of NADH and the liberation of carbon dioxide occurs at this stage, which is stimulated by isocitrate, NAD+, magnesium ion and ADP, and which is inhibited by NADH and ATP. Then coming to the step 6, the conversion of alpha ketoglutarate to succinyl CoA. So this is occurs through the oxidative decarboxylation, which is catalyzed by alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenase complex. Alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenase is a multi-enzyme complex. At this stage of tricarboxylic acid cycle, second NADH is produced and the second carbon dioxide is liberated. Step 7, the formation of succinate. Here, the succinyl CoA is converted to succinate by succinate thiokinase enzyme. This reaction is coupled with the phosphorylation of GDP to GTP. This is a substrate level phosphorylation. Here, the GTP is converted to ATP by the enzyme nucleoside diphosphate kinase. Then step 8, the conversion of succinate to fumarate. Succinate is oxidized by succinate dehydrogenase. This succinate is oxidized by succinate dehydrogenase to fumarate. Succinate is oxidized to fumarate in the presence of succinate dehydrogenase enzyme. This reaction results in the production of FADH2. Here, the next one is, this is the step 8. Step 9 is formation of malate. So the enzyme fumarase catalyzes the conversion of fumarate to malate with the addition of water. Then coming to the step 10, the conversion of malate to oxaloacetate. The malate is then oxidized to oxaloacetate by malate dehydrogenase enzyme. So here, malate in the presence of malate dehydrogenase enzyme, it is converting as a malate it is converting as a oxaloacetate. The third and final synthesis of NADH occurs at this stage. So finally, this is the final step, and here third and final synthesis of NADH occurs. The oxaloacetate again is regenerated, which can be combined with another molecule of acetyl CoA, and it will be continuing the TCA cycle again. So this is the TCA cycle. So here the connecting link between this glycolysis and TCA cycle is this one. The pyruvate is the end product in glycolysis, in aerobic glycolysis, and this undergoes phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme. By oxidative decarboxylation, it will be converting as acetyl CoA. Here, the two molecules of acetyl CoA is condensed with oxaloacetate in the presence of citrate synthase enzyme, is converting as a citrate. This citrate undergoes reaction in the presence of aconitase enzyme. It is converting as a cis aconitase and isocitrate by the enzyme, that is aconitase. Here the intermediate compound is cis-aconitase. This isocitrate in the presence of isocitrate dehydrogenate is converting as a oxalosuccinate. This oxalosuccinate in the presence of isocitrate dehydrogenase enzyme, it is converting as a alpha ketoglutarate. This alpha ketoglutarate in the presence of alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenase enzyme, it is converted as a succinyl-CoA. This succinyl-CoA in the presence of succinate thiokinase enzyme, it is converting as a succinate. The succinate again in the presence of succinate dehydrogenase enzyme, converting as a fumarate. This fumarate in the presence of fumarase, converting as a malate. So this is the final step. The malate in the presence of malate dehydrogenase enzyme, it is converting as a oxalosuccinate. So here, while converting this isocitrate to oxalosuccinate, NADH is generating, and while converting alpha ketoglutarate to succinyl-CoA, NADH is generating, and while converting malate to oxaloacetate, NADH is generating. And again here, FADH is generating while converting succinate to fumarate, and one GTP is producing whenever while converting this succinyl-CoA to succinate. So totally here, one acetyl-CoA undergoes oxidation in TCA cycle. It leads to the generation of 12 ATPs. So that is regeneration of oxaloacetate here. The tricarboxylic acid cycle basically involves the oxidation of acetyl-CoA to carbon dioxide with simultaneous regeneration of oxaloacetate. There is no net consumption of oxaloacetate or any other intermediate in TCA cycle. Significance of TCA cycle: complete oxidation of acetyl-CoA will be occur here, and ATP is generating here, and this is the final common oxidative pathway, and fat is burned on the wick of carbohydrate here, and the excess carbohydrates are converted as a neutral fat, and here no net synthesis of carbohydrates from fat, and the carbon skeleton of amino acid is finally entered into the TCA cycle. Then coming to the energetics of TCA cycle, the oxidation of 3 NADH is generating here, right? So one NADH passes through the electron transport chain. There is a generation of 3 ATPs. So here 3 NADH is generating, and these are passing through the electron transport chain, and it leads to the generation of 9 ATPs. One FADH leads to the formation of 2 ATPs, and one substrate level phosphorylation is occurring, and thus the total of 12 ATPs are produced from one acetyl-CoA. Thank you.